I'm sure many of you have heard of the crazy world that is the retro video game market, with original copies of games selling for upwards of almost $10,000. But what if I told you that there exist two games that are actually much more valuable than any retro video game on the market, and they are in fact none other than Shrek. To be more specific, Shrek Extra Large for the GameCube and Shrek Super Party for the original Xbox, and it is all thanks to this one little toy watch. In order to get an understanding of both how and why this game, let alone this watch, came to be so valuable, we'll need to turn back time to the early 2000s. Around this time, it became practically commonplace for publishers to include a bonus item with each copy of their game, mainly to entice gamers to buy them. For example, Star Wars Episode 3 came with a bonus comic book, Tony Hawk came with a whole ass skate deck, and The Cat in the Hat was even bundled up with a free movie pass to any screening of the film. Probably the only add-on that hurt sales. I'm not too sure if other consoles implemented the same practice, but Xbox seems to have been the most prolific in doing so. Enter TDK Mediactive, a small game studio that specialized in much smaller and simpler games. This didn't really change even after acquiring the rights to the Shrek IP in 2001, with their first title, Shrek Fairy Tale Freakdown for the Game Boy Color being, well, see for yourself. But that didn't matter, as they would continue to release games under the Shrek IP, though mostly for the Game Boy, with the exception of Shrek 1 for Xbox. And it wasn't until late 2002 that they would release the now infamous Shrek Extra Large for the GameCube and Shrek Super Party for the Xbox and PS2, with a GameCube release later in 2003. TDK clearly saw the direction the market was taking, and so they decided to follow by slapping a watch in each copy of Shrek Extra Large and Super Party that bared this sticker, just confirming that the watch was inside. The watch itself doesn't appear to be a wristwatch. My guess would be that it just tells the time and maybe doubles as a stopwatch. I don't know, it's just something kids can brag about to their friends. Also, from what I've been able to find, it seems that only the Xbox copies of Super Party received a toy watch, meaning the others were left abandoned. Not only that, but also alongside these special copies, they still sold original copies with no add-ons. Now, as I mentioned, TDK was no stranger to developing video games, let alone Shrek titles, but that doesn't mean they were necessarily good at it. When it came time to make something for home consoles that didn't already have a predetermined outline, well, let's just say that they didn't really hit the mark. Upon release, the games were panned by both fans and critics alike, obviously not counting false reviews because, like, come on. Anyways, you probably already guessed, but neither of these games really sold all too well. Of course, we don't have an accurate sales figures to see for ourselves, but there's a good chance most of you hadn't even heard of either of these games before watching this video, unless I'm the only one who has it and I'm just projecting. But poor sales figures alone doesn't make a game rare. In fact, a quick search on eBay will bring up a multitude of used or maybe even brand new copies, both in case and CD only. However, you can clearly see that all of these listings are for the regular average Joe game. Once we get more specific, you'll either A, find copies of the game case bearing the free watch sticker, no watch, no manual, fuck it, no game, actually, well, the game is a minimum, being sold for a low of $100 and up to highs of $750. Though that's not to say there haven't been other copies sold for far cheaper, around $30 to $40 to be exact, but I'm unsure as to whether or not these were sold before they started getting popular again or not. Or B, you'll just find nothing because there's not a single listing that still exists for the full bundle. That's not to say they don't still exist in general, of course they do. A couple of collectors have posted them on their feed, showcasing them to the gaming world. However, we have to consider that not only were these copies sold in smaller numbers, let alone exclusive to one platform, but the watch was just that, a watch. Most kids, or even adults if they were crazy enough to buy this, that owned these at some point in time either broke them, they already looked so flimsy, or simply tossed them away once they had reached the end of their lifespan. After all, they didn't really have much value at the time. But let's take a page out of this fairy tale and say that one of the very few collectors decided to put their watch up for sale. How much would they be looking to get? Well, it's really hard to say, as there's no one accurate number or even a decent range, and here's why. After scouring the internet for the past 2 months, yes, I've been sitting on this idea for that long, I've only been able to find a total of 6 reported listings anywhere. According to this redditor, a copy of Extra Large, watch included of course, supposedly sold for a whopping $6,500 on eBay. Now, I was unable to find this listing myself, but it seems that a couple of people in the comments confirmed that this sale did in fact exist, so we'll just take him at his word for now. On this website here, MTech Cave, a loose copy of Super Party, presumably with the watch, sold for $412, a complete inbox copy for $600, and a brand new sealed copy for $1,500. Website Play and Trade lists a copy copy of Super Party as sold for $554 with a supposed new price tag of just a little over $2,000. And lastly, a lonely sealed copy of Shrek Super Party was found at a local shop also for a price of $1,500. So as we can see, the prices are all over the place, and it'd be unjust of me to try and assign a real price tag or even estimate. You may have also noticed that I only mentioned one extra large listing compared to the multiple of Super Parties, and that's because I couldn't find any archived listing for extra large, either because less copies were ever sold overall or all of the listings were deleted, something that was also the case with a couple of Super Party listings. Although we can't pinpoint a price tag, we can at least see that there is some real value here. However, as with all collectible video games, there is something that collectors should be wary of, a little something called market manipulation. I'm sure many of you were immediately skeptical of that $6,500 price tag, and you have every right to be. Even though some people in the comments confirmed its existence, we can't know for sure if they're being truthful or if they're the original poster on alt accounts. Without the actual listing in front of our eyes, we don't know if that price was ever real or created out of thin air just for the sake of driving up interest so that this redditor can profit heavily from his investment. Another thing you have to keep in mind is the possibility that the sale was real, but it was bought by the poster himself in order to create an illusion of demand. I'm also sure that when I showed you these two listings, you immediately noticed that the images were the exact same. Not only that, but these also had the same price tag, which means that either A, whoever bought this copy immediately went to resell it at a break-even point, not even bothering to take another photo, or B, these are all in fact the exact same copy. Whoever was the original owner, whether they bought it from a collector or just had it in stock for some reason, tried their very best to get it off their hands by listing it at a multitude of price tags on different sites. But when nobody was interested enough to purchase it, they just gave up and sold it to their local shop, either for that $1,500 price tag or perhaps even less. Whether they planned on it or not, the effect of this entire fiasco being that the value of Super Party alone was driven up at a rapid rate. Does that mean that this game and watch is completely stripped of all its value? Of course not. While I don't think it may be worth $6,500, $2,000, or even $1,500, I do think that it is an inherently rare collectible item. Not only is the IP itself massive, I mean, who hasn't heard of Shrek, but it is also an officially licensed item that is no longer being made, not some cheap Chinese knockoff you can find at your local flea market, though it does kind of look like one. And that's why I believe that these games are much more valuable than any other game out there. When it comes to retro video games, you can quite easily find original copies of, let's say, Super Mario Brothers being sold at auction houses or simply listed on eBay. In these cases, it's only a matter of acquiring the funds necessary in order to get these in your grubby little paws. However, in the case of Shrek Super Party and Extra Large, it's not just a case of raising the money needed, it's mainly a case of finding a collector who is willing to give up such an artifact for any price in general. Real collectors don't buy to resell for profit, they buy to collect, hence the name. And there's nothing any of us can do to change that. As of now, there's currently not a single listing anywhere on the internet, or at least, again, I haven't been able to find any. Maybe there's something in some foreign country. The watch at the shop has been there since I think like 2022. At some point in time, someone has probably bought it, like, let's be real for a second here. But unless any of the collectors that still own this ancient artifact are ever willing to give it up, the Shrek Super Watch, as I'm going to dub it, will be lost to time.
Thank you for calling Book Off. How can I help you?
Yeah, hi. I went to the store a while back and I saw a game there, and I don't know if you guys could check if it's still available or not.
And what's the title?
Shrek Super Party?
Was that the one? The really expensive one?
Yeah.
No, I still have it.
You guys have it? I'll only buy it if there's a clear interest in this video. It is a lot of fucking money. Other than that, if you like this video, check out my other one, subscribe, all that good stuff. Anyways, ciao ciao.